Since the topic today is unveiling our perfect inner peace, I thought I would do the affirmation from Swami Kriyananda's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing, on the topic of peace of mind. So first he says a little bit about peace of mind. Peace of mind is the result not of money in the bank, but of prayer and meditation. The more one contacts God in meditation, the more he feels descending upon him a blanket, as it were, of inner peace, cooling his body, calming his restless impulses, and thrilling his nerves with ever-new delight. Peace is like a weightless waterfall, washing away all worries, and bestowing a new, glad sense of confidence. Peace of mind is his who knows that God is his only treasury. And now the way we do the affirmations, we do it according to how Yogananda recommended. We say it first out loud to kind of get the focus of the conscious mind, and then a little bit softer, and then in a whisper, and then only mentally, taking it very deep into our minds and raising it up to the superconscious level at the point between the eyebrows. So repeat after me. From pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. From pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. And now in a whisper, from pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. And now only mentally, from pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. Again, mentally, from pools of inner silence, I sip the sparkling waters of thy peace. And now pray silently with me. All that I own is thine, Lord. Help me to know thee as the river of peace, running silently beneath the sands of my life's experiences. Om, peace. Amen. So, the other part of the topic today is the law of karma, or as you sow, so you reap. The law applies on every level of life, starting at the cosmic level. So when Sir Isaac Newton discovered the third law of motion and said for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, he was reflecting a law that exists on the higher level as well. And it is the law essentially behind the law of karma. And karma is just action. It's not good karma or bad karma, it is just action. Divine law doesn't need man's approval for it to work. You know, the law of gravity worked just fine before it was discovered, and it's still working today, whether we approve of it or not. And the same is true of the law of karma. And the law is very exact. It's just the rhythms of God are very long, so we don't always see what set something in motion when it comes back around. To understand karma correctly, we have to understand that thoughts are action. What we think, and you know this from your own studies with Ernest Holmes, A Science of Mind, that mental thoughts are, in fact, very powerful. And they set in motion karma just the way outward physical action does. Some people think, well, if I only think bad thoughts about that person, but I'm nice to him when I'm with him, then it doesn't count. Well, it doesn't quite work that way, because whatever disharmony we put out in thought, sooner or later, it's going to come back, because that's how we learn. The disharmony is not the way to go. So the law is very exact. The very universe in the final analysis is nothing but consciousness. Scientists tell us that these days, that we used to think that matter was solid, that this solid piece of wood here was, real. But actually it's just billions of atoms, molecules made up with lots of space in between. And behind that, it's just thought. The entire universe is made of consciousness. Yogis say that it's the consciousness of the divine, that the way God manifested the universe is he sent out a wave of his consciousness and caused it to vibrate in that process, and it manifested the physical world. And so that going out, that action, created the vibration, and yogis say that the sound of that vibration is Om, or the cosmic vibration. It's the same thing in the first part of the Bible in Genesis when it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. Well, there probably wasn't somebody speaking a language at that point, but the word that's referred to there is actually the vibration, the sound of Om, which was the sound that was created by that manifestation. So action originates in the will, which directs energy outward toward its desired end. And in fact, this is the definition of willpower. Desire plus energy directed towards fulfillment. That's how we get things done in this world. We have a desire which comes from the thought, and we direct energy with that thought outward to make that come into fulfillment. The stronger that will is, the stronger the desire, the stronger the will. The greater the will, the greater the flow of energy is an axiom that Yogananda used to say many times. And if you have great will and great energy behind the thoughts that you put out, you can manifest miracles, you can heal people from disease, you can do as Jesus did and raise the dead. If it's according to God's will, obviously. But that is the power that we all have innately in ourselves. No action is ever an isolated event. Everything we do invites a reaction from the universe that corresponds exactly to the type and the force of energy behind the deed. This topic is a very vast topic. I'm trying to touch on some of the highlights so as not to be all over the map, but I thought it was a very important topic because it affects all of us. We all have set into motion karma from the past. Yogananda says, in fact, that it takes 8 million lives just to get up to the human level of evolution. Once you're at that level, it can take 8 million more incarnations, or it can take one incarnation. It all depends on the amount of energy and focus we put in our spiritual life, trying to go deep into that inner stillness and reclaim our birthright, our divine heritage in God. But because desires get in the way, there's a story that's told about, in fact, Swami Kriyananda used to tell the story about Henry Ford. He decided to put together a manufacturing factory down in, was it Mexico? In Brazil. And most of the people that he was able to hire down there were women. Well, they weren't used to working full-time, and they weren't interested in working full-time. They were only interested in working a little bit, and they didn't have many needs, so they didn't feel any need to work full-time. But he couldn't get the efficiency out of the factory that he wanted, and as he was used to here in the States. So he thought he had to come up with something. He had to find a way to motivate these women so that they would want to work more hours. And so he sent them all Sears catalogs. Well, you can imagine what happened after that. They're leafing through the Sears, oh, I got to have one of those, and oh, gosh, if I work more hours, I can have one of those, and and you can imagine where it went from there. And such is the nature of desire. One desire satisfied, Buddha said, kindles 100 more in its place. So we can't get away from it by satisfying all of our desires. well, actually, we have to satisfy all the desires eventually, but we don't have to satisfy them outwardly. We can do it in meditation, fortunately. Otherwise, the process would be incredibly long. But in today's modern world, we don't do that with Sears catalog necessarily. We get other catalogs. Any of you get catalogs in the mail? And from companies I've never subscribed to. I don't even know who they are. I don't know how they got them at my mailing list. I mean, I'm sure it was sold to them by somebody else. But, there's lots of ways to create desires. This world is just, designed to bring out more and more desires that we think we have to have satisfied in order to be happy. And we're always looking for a better house, a better spouse, a better car, a better fill in the blanks. I would really be happy if only, and then you can fill in the blank. People who don't have enough money, most people say, well, I could be happy if I could earn 10% more. Well, at all levels of income, people say that. So even the rich say, well, I'd be happier if I had 10% more. It's always something in the future. It's never in this moment, in the now, that people find their happiness. And so we go on. And so those desires keep us coming back again. And Yogananda says that reincarnation is the counterpart of the law of karma. It's just not possible to work everything out in one incarnation. And I don't know whether you subscribe to that concept of reincarnation or not, but it certainly helps to explain why is it that some babies are born with deficits. Why are children born blind, or why, or paralyzed, or, missing arms or legs? Why is that? What did they do to deserve that? If you don't have a sense that there was something set in motion before this incarnation, then there's really no way to explain it. And a lot of people tend to say, well, there can't be a God because it's not fair. He wouldn't do that. That's unkind. So there must not be a God. Well, it isn't that there isn't a God. It's just that we're ignorant of the divine law, which includes the law of karma set in motion. So that soul, that child, whatever happened before, and we have no way of knowing what it was, but something was set in motion before. And that is the karma coming back this time. And this is even referenced in the Bible, because people who are of a Christian background, and I'm of a Christian background, aren't inclined to believe in reincarnation. But there's references even in the Bible that haven't been completely removed. I'm sure there were a great many more references in the Bible back before 500 AD when they met in Constantinople, and I think that was the time when they sort of cleaned all of the scripture to make it more sanitized and more to their liking. But anyway, even Christ, said, well, the disciples approached him when they saw a blind man as they were walking through a village. And the disciples asked him, is this man blind because of his own sin or the sin of his parents? Well, Christ doesn't answer that question directly at that point in time. But the fact that they would even ask that, if the man was born blind, how could it be his own sin unless he had lived before? And there's also references in the Bible when he says, who do men say that I am? And the disciples say, well, some of them say that you are Elias. Some of them say that you're Jeremiah, one of the prophets of old. And he said that Elias has come already. Elias was referring to John the Baptist. John the Baptist was a reincarnation of Elias. And Christ is saying that. Elias has come already, but they knew him not. I don't know if you follow that, but it's a very clear reference to the fact that John the Baptist had lived before. He was Elias in a prior lifetime. And in fact, Yogananda says he was actually Christ's guru in a former lifetime. But he gave his mantle to Christ at that point in time, at the end of his life, because he saw what Christ's mission was going to be. So there's lots of references. It's not just something that comes in Buddhism or Hinduism or yogic tradition. The whole concept of reincarnation is becoming more popular, more readily accepted, by people in our society today. But it certainly explains a lot of things that without it make it very difficult to explain. Energy, when we put it out in thought form, creates a magnetic field. And this is one of the reasons that we draw back to us that like result. Energy, like attracts like. It's also true if you're with a group of people and you're like-minded people, you feel more comfortable. Like, it's wonderful being with all of you today because we share that common interest in the spiritual life. If you took two people, one maybe who was Russian and one who was Japanese, and they were both businessmen, and you brought them together, if they could get over the language barrier, they would probably have a lot to talk about because they relate on the level of business. So there's a magnetism in the world that they operate in. The same is true in our spines. The higher we live in our spine, if we live more up here in the upper chakras, the magnetism that we put out will be higher, and the people that we attract into our lives will be like-minded people who will also give back to us that higher level of consciousness. That's why it's really important to be careful and selective about the people that you spend a lot of time with. Not that you ever want to be judgmental of other people, but be protective of your own aura so that you're not spending unnecessarily a lot of time with people that can't give you energy. Because if you're not strong enough to give them energy, and if they're negative, they can pull your energy down. So it's important to be really protective. So it's really a lot about magnetism and living in our higher chakras. So the binding force between human action and cosmic reaction is the ego. Yogananda explains that the ego is actually what causes the physical body. That's an interesting concept. People usually think that, well, I have a body, and therefore I have an ego. The ego came because I have a body. But he says, no, it's the other way around. The ego lives after the physical body is gone. And it is that identification, the soul identified with the body, which is what attracts our karma back to us when we incarnate again. The ego is there again. So that sense of I-ness continues over multiple incarnations until we finally realize how to be done with all self-definitions and get to that point where we understand that we are not just a mother, a daughter, a spouse, a teacher, a nurse. I mean, all of the things that we think of as being ourselves, we are not that. We are children of the light. We are children of God, and our birthright is to merge back into union with God, because that's our true reality. And that will come when we've let go of all of those self-definitions that we think we are, but we are not, and embrace that reality. And that comes in deeper inner stillness. So what causes the ego to reincarnate? Yogananda says it's desire. We talked about that a little bit before. I thought I would bring it to you also directly from the Gita. In the second chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna is talking to Arjuna, and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita represents every man. He happens to be a disciple of Krishna in the story, and was so in real life, but he also represents every devotee, every man. So basically, Krishna is telling him things that every man goes through. He says, if one ponders on sense objects, there springs up attraction to them. From attraction grows desire. Desire, impatient for fulfillment, flames to anger. From anger, there arises infatuation. The delusion that one object alone is worth clinging to the exclusion of all others. From infatuation ensues forgetfulness of the higher self. From forgetfulness of the self follows degeneration of the discriminative faculty. And when discrimination is lost, there follows the annihilation of one's spiritual life. I think if you reflect at all, and I reflect as often as I can, watching my own thoughts and, where am I in relationship to my inner center, it doesn't take very long before you can be way out on the periphery of of your consciousness because you've gotten caught up in that cascade. A catalog comes in the mail. Ooh, I like that dress. Ooh, it's kind of expensive. Well, maybe if I really save up, I can probably get that. Well, okay, I'll put it aside. But I don't forget it. After a while, it comes back again. And before I know it, I'm thinking all about how I'm going to get that dress and where I'm going to wear it and whether, right? I mean, we all have that experience. You can do the same when you go out on the internet. You don't even have to have a physical catalog anymore. You can do it online and spend hours lost in cyberspace. It's not hard to do. But that's just the nature of the mind and the nature of desire. And one desire leads to another. And pretty soon, you can go out on the internet and you can be looking for one specific thing, and half an hour later, you're someplace entirely different. It's like, how did I get here? And then you can't even, thread your way back to how you made it there. All you know is all of a sudden you're lost in cyberspace, So it's not anything that any of us need to be judgmental about ourselves about it. It's just the nature of the mind. It's the nature of delusion. Fortunately, the way out, which is what we're all here looking for, is simple. Yogananda said it's not as complex as people like to make it. And Jesus said that, the ways of perdition are many, but the way of the divine is narrow. Well, the same is true in the yogic teaching, that the answer is simple. We just have to learn to love God more deeply. We have to learn to live more in that place of inner stillness in ourselves where we feel God's presence. It's talked about in many of the world's languages and also in the world's religions. It says so in Psalms, "Be still and know that I am God." So where is that place of stillness? I used to wonder when I was a child, the ministers would always say that Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is within. Well, no cardiac surgeon has ever discovered it when they open a chest to do heart surgery. So, you have to ask yourself, where is this place that is within? How do I get there? I want to find that kingdom of heaven. It only comes when we learn to sit in perfect stillness, in deep meditation, meditating on one of the aspects of God, or just feeling great devotion towards God. And in that place of deep inner stillness, then God comes to us. He comes in many forms. He can come as light, he can come as sound, he can come as a sense of power, he can come as wisdom, he can come as love, he comes as peace, he comes as calmness, and he comes as bliss. In the yogic tradition, Satchidananda is the definition of God, and it essentially means ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And that is our birthright. That is the bliss that we're all seeking. And the way to find it is through devotion to God and going into that deep inner stillness on a daily basis, making that our practice. Every morning, every evening, set aside some time to spend just you and God together. Wherever you have a place in your home, corner of your bedroom, wherever you can set up a sacred space for yourself, try to make that your practice daily and spend a few minutes every day just being in that deep stillness. And you will find that it will become such a normal practice that meditation becomes its own reward. You will want to meditate because the joy that you feel in meditation will be so overwhelming that you won't want to live without it. That's the inner peace, that perfect inner peace, which is our birthright, that we have inside of ourselves, and all we have to do is spend a little bit of time focusing there. Yogananda used to describe it as cut off the sense telephones. Stop thinking about tomorrow. You can't worry about tomorrow, it's not here yet. Don't think about yesterday and all the regrets that you might have had about something in the past. You only live in the eternal now. So try to take some time every day to cut off those sense telephones, stop the restlessness of the mind. If you practice Hung Sa, and as Hanuman was suggesting to the group upstairs, if you'd like us to come and teach you the Hung Sa technique, meditation technique that Yogananda taught, it's a very simple technique, and it basically works with watching the breath. Why watching the breath? It's simple. We have it all the time with us. It's an easy tool, but also because there's a connection between breath and mind. The calmer your breath is, the calmer your mind. You can judge by your own experience. When you're excited about something or you're angry about something, what happens? Your breath speeds up, your pulse speeds up, your blood pressure goes up. Well, we can use that tool in reverse by focusing on the breath and watching the breath and watching it gently calm itself down. By watching the breath calm down, pretty soon the mind calms down, and then you can slip into that space of perfect stillness. Done perfectly, you can get to a point of pauses of breathlessness. And that's not anything to be afraid of, because the first time you have a thought of, oh my God, I'm not breathing, you're breathing. So it's not anything you have to worry about. But in that perfect stillness comes that divine joy that we are all seeking and all craving. It is the only lasting fulfillment in this world that there is. And the more that we move in that direction, the more we make that our reality, the more we live from that inner space of joy and peace, the more we offer that peace outward to the world. And so I encourage you, if you don't have a regular meditation practice, that you strive to build one. It can make a huge difference in how you react in the world. One of the things that people ask me, well, what's the value of meditation? Okay, I'm going to feel joy and bliss. Okay, that's really nice. But, what's something tangible I can hang on to? Actually, those are very tangible. But one of the first things you'll notice is if somebody who knows how to push your buttons, you have a particular person in your life that knows how to get you and get you riled, you'll notice after a while that, you can go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they feel they have to act that way. And they don't push your buttons anymore. You don't have any buttons there to push because you slow the reactive process. You slow it down to where you can choose to respond instead of just react. So that can be tremendously valuable in your daily life, in addition to infinite peace and bliss. So we're made in God's image. Therefore, peace is our nature. When by the practice of meditation we calm our restless mind and focus on the inner light of God, His peace begins to arise and expand within us. The more we can focus with devotion on that inner light, the more our energy becomes uplifted and our consciousness is suffused with peace and joy. The more we learn to live in this inner stillness, the less affected we become by the outward restlessness of the world, of duality around us, and the more we will emanate the peace of our meditation practice, sharing waves of peace with the world around us. It's the greatest gift that we can offer to one another, to ourselves, to the world, is a strong meditation practice and living a life for God. There isn't anything greater you can do for your family or loved ones than make your own spiritual life a very deep practice. Make it number one priority. As Jesus said, seek ye the kingdom of God first, and all these things shall be added unto you. And so it will be, and when we make it that way. In closing, I wanted to share with you something that Ananda is doing right now. We have a campaign on worldwide to pray for world peace and harmony. And if you use an iPhone, anybody use iPhone? Good. Anybody use Android? Great. There is an app that you can purchase for free called World Peace and Harmony. It's in the iTunes App Store. And it's very, very simple. It's a beautifully designed app. And the whole purpose of this app is you press on that you want to pray for world peace, and it opens up to a next page, and you see a beautiful picture of the globe. And then it says, I am ready. You click on I am ready. And then you listen to someone do Yogananda's peace and harmony prayer. And I thought we'd do it together as I close. And the way it goes is you pray first 10 times, which lasts about a minute, for world peace and harmony. And it's real simple. We say, Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. Peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. And now, 3 times we pray, Lord, fill me with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony. With peace and harmony. And so it shall be. In the app, the purpose of the app is we're trying to get people around the world to do the peace and harmony prayer at least once a day. And the goal is to get 1 million prayers. So if you'd like to join in, you can participate by getting the app and downloading it, or you can just do the peace and harmony prayer at home on your own. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.